5 million.
Come true. It is going to come true. This is not like ambiguous.
You can say, hold on. You can say,
he knows it's going.
Oh my God, you're so wrong. Stop. That's what Paul could do with 200 men, because Paul was like a godlike messianic leader to these people. Dune 2 spoilers, I guess. Not that it matters, because who the cares. But I realized it during the romance plot in Dune 2. And I realized during the romance plot, you know what I realized? I realized if either of these characters died, I absolutely wouldn't give a f. And I also don't give a f that they're like romantically intertwined with each other. I don't care. I don't care at all. And you know what I realized? I realized why I loved Lord of the Rings, or not Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is good. But actually, this does apply to Lord of the Rings too. But it's also especially for Game of Thrones. You know what I like so much about Game of Thrones? Every single character in Game of Thrones is like so full of life. They all have such huge personalities. Every single character in Game of Thrones had a huge personality, and you could speak at length to the type of person they were. You can imagine them in several situations. They're all just like so interesting. Even if you don't like them, or even if they're bad or good, or they do dumb or smart shit or whatever, they're all very interesting. They'll have like very, very, very strong characters, very strong personalities. I think that was true in a lot of the early Final Fantasy games. I think that's why I liked Tactics and Final Fantasy VII. You'd have characters that were doing humorous things and serious things, and it was always this like balance of stuff that was like so important, I think. And I think that like fleshing out the characters, I think that for me, I think I just fall more to that side of things where I care more about the characters than like the lore. I will say for Dune 2, the music was really good in Dune 1, and it was good in Dune 2. The visuals are really cool. The world building is pretty good. There's one big weird thing. I'm going to say this and then everybody's going to give a bunch of examples that have nothing to do with what I'm talking about technology. Here's the one weird thing I will say about Dune 1 and Dune 2 is that it never really feels like it's that hot in the desert. Maybe it's not supposed to be hot. Maybe it's only supposed to be dry. But like now everyone's going to say, oh, it's because they've got machines that suck stuff out of the air and they recycle their humidity and blah, blah, blah. But it's just funny that like characters are never really like out of breath, or they're just like standing in the sun and they don't really give a fuck, or they don't, whatever. So it's kind of interesting that there's like a super desert thing where everybody's obsessed with conserving moisture, but it never really actually feels that hot. I don't know if that matters much. I don't think it matters that much. But yeah, the lore world building stuff was cooler this time. But yeah, I feel like I just super don't give a fuck about any of the characters. They're just like so boring. Paul is so boring, and Zendaya is so boring. And I can't watch the movie in front of me, but I would even extend this to, I don't know if the fault is the writing or the acting, but the lines are bad. I think that I would go as far as to say, outside of like personal taste or opinion or preference, the lines in Dune 2 are bad and kind of cringe. That like when Paul is talking to Zendaya and stuff, it's not like, I love you with all my heart, I'll do whatever. It's like, my love for you is huge and will never vanquish, or whatever. I don't know. The lines, they're like very stiff. It's like written like pretty eloquently, and it just is the delivery like on everything that they say to each other is like very, very, very stiff. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cringe listening to some of the characters talk to each other. I will always love you. You are my desert rose. I have love for you forever. It is but yeah, the almost all of those types of lines back and forth with each other were ultra fucking cringe. Holy shit. Yeah, and then like the whole romance stuff and everything. I just don't. Yeah, I realized it was the romance plot that sold that idea to me. That I do not give a fuck about any of these people. And if they die, like if the mom died, I wouldn't be sad. If Zendaya died, I wouldn't be sad. If Paul died, I wouldn't really be sad because I just don't give a fuck. Yeah. The saddest thing is that I feel like the two characters that I liked the most from 1 and 2 are probably still, I don't know if it's fair, if it's just the dad, or if he was just written better. What's the name of the actor that plays the dad in Dune 1? God, this guy is so awesome.
What if I'm not?
Oh, this guy. I like this guy. I feel like he might have been one of the only people that I liked. I don't know why. Oscar Isaac. I don't know if it was the actor, if it was the writing or the role or whatever. This guy, and then like the big bodyguard dude. I liked him as well. Have you ever heard the meme that people who enjoy imagining fictional characters in realistic scenarios are neurodivergent? Maybe you're just not normie enough to enjoy Dune. Okay. One thing I will say though, okay, about Dune 2 compared to Dune 1. Dune 1, in my opinion, if you like Dune 1 and you talk about like world building and shit, it's just because you either read the books or you're filling in a whole bunch of blanks on your own and try to like make it work. Dune 2's world and everything, I think was legitimately super interesting. I thought that the world building and everything on Dune 2, like watching them like do all their little plans to like kill the big salt miners and then learning about like all the other royal families and how they all interact with each other and like the emperor and all that bullshit, I thought it was a billion times better. Also, one thing that sucks too, and I don't know why these exist so separately in my mind, is I hate the Paul character. I hate him. I don't know if it's the actor, the writing for the lines, or just whatever. I hate him. But the story arc of the guy and his ascension to being like a fucking, I don't know, what would you even call it? Like the prophesized hero / villain. I don't know what the fuck he's gonna be. That was a really cool storyline. It was really cool how they did all of that and everything. Yeah, some parts of the Dune 2 movie I thought were really good, but God, the characters just suck. Fuck. Oh. I also think it's cute how they, I'm not gonna say they mirrored Arya's line or Arya Stark's path, but I know that like in Game of Thrones, Arya Stark did this thing where she has to like lose her identity to become the true blah blah blah, but then at the end she's like, no, I am a Stark, fuck you. And I feel like Paul had like a similar-ish thing relating to his family, and was he gonna become like just the, what are they called? What's the name of the weird, the Fermin? Was he just gonna become one of those people, or was he gonna become or is he gonna be Paul Atreides or whatever the fuck his name is? I thought that storyline was cool. Compare this to Interstellar. In that movie, all the cool sci-fi concepts are used to explore the relationships between characters. It's a character-centric movie. Dune is a world-centric movie. Yeah, maybe, but if Dune is going to be world-centric, I feel like it should be more of like a... are they called soap opera plots? Or no, cast plots? Where you've got, like, what is Game of Thrones? We've got, like, a cast of characters. I feel like there should be more people involved then, instead of focusing so much on... Do you at least think the second movie is improved over the first one? The second one was way better than the first one, I think. Yeah, for sure. Did you like Fade Rotha? Fade? Oh shit, that's the one guy. I thought his name was Fade. Yeah, he was a bad dude, I guess. Seems weird that they introduced that whole guy and then killed him in the same movie, but it was a long movie. It didn't feel long though. It was like, I think it was like a 3-hour movie, but I think the pacing on this movie was way better than the pacing on Dune 1. I don't remember if Dune 1 felt long or if it just felt shitty. Dune 2 doesn't feel long. I think Dune 2 paces itself really well. The pacing towards the end was shit. Was it? Do you think so? Were there any slow blade penetrates the shield memes? I'm gonna be honest, there are some times where I still don't think I get how I don't get how any of that works. I feel like there were times where people are fighting and they're like running through and they can just take a sword and like just like slash somebody with the shield and then they kill them. I thought it was only supposed to be the slow blade that penetrates the shield. I must have missed something. I don't know, dude. They did him dirty, kind of. Fed Ratha was built up as the other side of the coin to Paul since he had prophetic visions. Yeah, and I understand they probably want to try to condense. Not everyone has a fucking shield. Pay attention. I'm pretty sure if they glow red when they die, that means they had a shield, right? On the desert, they don't use shields. It's attracting worms. Well, the ships use shields. The little flying guy does. I remember that. Because they had Paul and the one girl had to time the thing to blow it up and everything, right? How'd you like your Chris Wainsman interview? I'm a bit upset at your trolls, but the only issue I had was you're a bit excited, so speaking rapid. Lucky Chris gets you. Yeah, I need to slow down my speaking, I think. I guess. I just want to communicate all my shit as quickly as possible, okay? If you were grading on a curve of Oppenheimer, how would Dune 2 fare? Oh, man. Oppenheimer was a horrible movie. Dune 2 I just feel like Dune 2 doesn't make me care about the characters. But like if Dune 2 was like 100, Oppenheimer would be like a 45. Oppenheimer was just so bad. Dune 2 was at least like coherent. It was telling like one coherent story. Really, I really do think my only complaint about Dune 2 was just the characters. I just don't care about them. I don't know if it's the writing, the line delivery. I don't know what it is, but what was your main complaint about Oppenheimer? My main complaint about Oppenheimer is it tries to do too much, so you don't explore anything in much depth at all. Like, having a whole movie on the scientists debating at Los Alamos would have been really interesting. Or having a whole movie about, like, I don't know, the ethics of dropping the bomb or something, or, like, just the life of Oppenheimer, maybe. But, like, it tries to do too much, and I don't care about any of it. I just don't care. I don't care about the whole security clearance subplot. I thought it was so dumb. But bro, you need to read books, not even this book, but like fiction in general. I can't believe this is the thing. Yeah, maybe. But I feel like if I'm reading, I feel like I should always be reading nonfiction. But maybe I should start reading fiction. I'm not sure. What was this? You probably wouldn't like the books either. It isn't a story about characters at all, which makes it hard to adapt. It is very much a story about vast, inhuman, socio-historical trends. The protagonist is not really Paul. The protagonist is political ecology, basically. The characters are also uninteresting in the books. Okay. How'd you feel about Oppie winning so many Oscars? I don't think about Oscars. I don't know. I just like it doesn't change my opinion about the movie. What's the score out of 10 for Dune 2? I don't know, 6 or 7 out of 10, I guess. Characters are a big part of a movie for me, all right? Have you watched Poor Things? No, but I've heard, I haven't heard anything. I don't know what I was about to say. We watched a trailer. I haven't heard anything about that movie. The real question is, how could you stop thinking about Palestine during the movie? Is every single movie about rebels going to be like about like Palestine, or? You would say Near Replicant, its story, I think, is 100% built on the characters and their development. I'd say the story is even better than Automata. Oh, maybe. I also had somebody recommend me Near Drakengard a lot, too. What episode are you on for Hunter x Hunter? I don't know, like 30? They're just getting into the gate of, Bro, when I watch things subbed, I don't remember any of the character names at all. Because I can't hear, I don't think I can pick them out well. Because of the way Japanese people talk. It's the guy with the gray hair, the little kid, the other little kid. They're going into his house. Kilua, that one. Kilua. What's the longest show you've ever watched? Oof, Game of Thrones? I probably watched more episodes of DBZ than anything else, but you're not on episode 30 then, little bro. I don't know. He Loves Israel? Yeah, I haven't gotten to that part yet. Well, you'll watch Jujutsu Kaisen next. I should watch the last 2 parts of the seasons of Attack on Titan. I feel like I should finish that. But other than that, I don't think I have anything up. Or anything scripted. Oh, The Sopranos. That should be my next thing. Watch Ad Astra. I watched that movie. I don't know why, but I like that movie a lot. I have no idea why. Way more than I should. I'm not even sure if it's a good movie. I just think it has a very interesting feel to it. I have no idea why. I super don't know why. That movie, like, I think I actually watched it a second time. Did you force yourself to like anime, or was it just natural? I feel like I grew up watching like a bunch of Japanese things. Because I played like JRPGs and stuff too, right? This was the Palestine Dune comment that, yeah, I know. I don't know what I thought about tweeting about this, but I don't know what the fuck this is about. Dune 2 is maybe the best sci-fi movie I've ever seen. I was moved multiple times with the stunning visuals. Is it Chalamet? I don't know how to pronounce the person's name. And Zendaya's performances, and its commentary on white savior stories and colonialism. It's eerie how much you won't stop thinking about Palestine in the theater. I don't know what any of this is supposed to mean or how. Did you ever watch Breaking Bad? Yeah, duh. Do you know Schindler's List is a movie about Palestinian struggle? Oh, also, we're up big this week. Lex, I think, said either today or tomorrow he'd have the, oh no, yesterday or today he might have, maybe, hopefully this week Lex has the debate posted with me, Benny, and then Moeen Rabbani and Norman Finkelstein. And then I got an email from Peterson's people today saying, I think on Thursday, they're planning on posting at 4 EST our podcast. Are we going to watch that on stream? Maybe. Oh, God.
I just have one question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Who the hell do you think you are?
Oh.
Is it a big troll? Is it a troll?
You know what? Here's what I'll give you, okay?
Uh-huh.
Did you like Skyrim?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, I understand everything. Okay, I finally pieced it together. I figured out everything, okay?
Oh my God.
Where my movie things come from. I figured it out, all right?
Uh-huh.
First, let me say this. Dune 2 is much better than Dune 1. We agree there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. My issue, I think, is that you've got stories and then you've got characters. And I think I just fall really heavily on the character side. I just really like characters. And I think that's why I really liked, for instance, like Game of Thrones. Regardless of if you thought somebody was good or bad, everybody was very interesting in that show, or at least in the early seasons. Like every character, whether you didn't like them or liked them, they were just all so interesting, so fleshed out. They were funny. They had their trials and tribulations. They had the things that they loved, things they hated, blah, 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 right? I think one of my big issues with Dune, and I can give you a whole bunch of positive things about Dune too, but oh my God, the characters are so unbelievably fucking stiff and dull. And even the script reading is either bad or the lines are written bad. Yeah, go.
Well, okay. Are we doing full spoilers here in the chat, or what?
Spoiler alert, Dune 2, I guess.
There were so many like really important and compelling character arcs. I mean, some of them were not that fleshed out. Like Gurney Halleck was not. I mean, he didn't really have like a substantial character arc, but.
Was Gurney the old guy, the trainer guy that came back?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Stilgar had a really compelling character arc. Obviously, Paul's character arc was huge, and Chani, he took a lot of liberties. Like in the book, it's quite different. She's more docile, and she kind of goes along with Paul for the most part. And in this movie, he kind of needed like a moral center. I guess I'm just a little like.
So here's the thing. I agree with everything you just said.
Let me just finish my thought real quick. I'm just a little surprised because you're so into politics in this movie. It has everything. You can treat it like a blockbuster if you want to, but the politics are super intriguing, and it's especially surprising given the fact that Frank Herbert was the author of the original 6 books, he was this like libertarian environmentalist from hippie guy from like the 70s. He thought the most dangerous politician in the 20th century was JFK. And he made Dune specifically to warn against the dangers of left-wing populism. Like he was specifically referencing like Mao and Stalin. So for you to be like a very anti-communist in real life and then not resonate with this
Well,
movie,
it's not like my politics aren't going to drive whether I like or dislike a movie. I liked V for Vendetta, but that's like a very hardcore, edgy, libertarian movie, I think. It's not. I don't like agree politically with it. I just thought it was a cool movie because the guy had knives and shit. When I say that I didn't like the characters, what I mean is just like the characters are all so stiff and lifeless. Like Paul did have a really cool arc. I agree with that. But like I noticed this the most when, how do you pronounce her name? I just refer to her as Johnny, Zendaya's character.
Chani.
Like when her and the one Paul had like that romance scene, like I just realized that like I don't really give a fuck about if either of these people died. Like it would be cool for the story, but I'm not really super roped into either of these characters. And the way they speak to each other is so stiff. You will be my love forever, my desert flower. It's like the most stiff speech ever. None of it is very emotionally compelling.
I thought it was lovely. I really thought it was a beautiful moment when they're sitting on top of the sand dunes. She's like, maybe I'll show you. And like and the music and like
the music is really good. The visuals were
yeah.
good. The world building is good. The lore is good. I thought the arcs were good. I just the characters. There's not like much humor. Everything is so stiff and so serious and so like flat all the time. It just makes me not care about the individuals. Everything else about the movie was really cool, but that was probably my major gripe, and I think that's what I gravitate towards the most. Like if I compare it to like Game of Thrones, obviously, even to like Lord of the Rings, like Aragorn and the elf dude Gimli and the dwarf, like, and even the guy with the staff, not Dumbledore, yeah, Gandalf. Yeah, even Gandalf. These people all had their moments where they were laughing with each other and smiling and smoking pipes and like very serious and times of tragedy. And I feel like that gamut of emotions, like seeing that makes me like the characters more. I feel like the only two people I ever really got that from, funnily enough, were the
Stilgar and Gurney. They were kind of
Gurney a little bit and Stilgar kind of, but actually it was in the first movie. It was the dad, played by the Oscar guy. Is that his name?
Oscar Isaac provided moments of levity for you in the first film.
I feel like he had
emotional variety.
Yeah, like emotional variety. Like I could see like his thing is like being a dad, and he like wanted his son to do whatever. Or maybe I just like the actor more. And then the one big bodyguard guy, the big tall dude that fought, where he was like kind of like joking and fun with Paul and like giving him shit. Yeah, those were the only two characters that like when they died, I was like, oh no, well that's kind of sad. Those are the only two characters I ever felt that part. If Zendaya died, I'd be like, I don't care. Like if Paul died, I'd be like, okay. I don't think I would feel sad. I don't think I would like feel an emotional attachment to those two characters ever.
Well, if you like Duncan Idaho, I've got great news for Dune Messiah, assuming you'll see that movie. But
yeah, I mean, I'll probably see it. Yeah.
No, like when you say like Paul had no arc and he was kind
I didn't say Paul had no arc. Careful. I just said no character.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You said he was kind of stiff, right? But the whole point was that it culminates finally at the end. Like his rousing kind of speech at that council of the Fremen or whatever, that gave me fucking goosebumps.
Yeah, I thought it was a super awesome chill. Yeah, I got soy bumps. I was like, oh, this is cool. He started predicting people's futures and telling their past and all that shit. Yeah. Does he title drop Dune? Yeah, I thought that was cool. I'm just saying, like, but I didn't really care much individually about the person. Like, everything was so stiff.
Okay. I had a totally different. I mean, if you had to give it a numerical rating out of 10, I'm just curious what you would give it.
Oh, probably 6 or 7.
Bro, I'm so mystified.
What would you give Oppenheimer?
Me?
Yeah.
3 or 4.
Ooh.
Fuck that movie. God, I wish we could watch this together. We need a Mystery Science Theater 4000 this, okay?
Okay,
I wish I could watch the lines being read, because there were times when we were like, no shot is this a real movie with real actors delivering these lines in the stiffest manner possible. Everybody's so fucking cold. The mom and the son are cold towards each other. Like, everybody's so fucking cold in this movie. Don't kill my father and I'll take your hand in marriage instead if you spare his life. Okay, I spare his life. Kiss my ring. Like, oh my God. It's so stiff.
Wait, Hutch, what were your ratings for the first two?
10.
For both?
Yeah. But I mean, like, if I could, I'd give Dune 2 like 11 out of 10. Like, Dune and Dune 2 to me are on the level of Lord of, like, Fellowship and Two Towers and
oh my
A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. I'm there with it. So I'm a little triggered right now. So I'm gonna go before this bridge burns. I just wanted to fucking get some insight because you threw me off.
Aside from
You
the
should
lack
love
of
this
character
movie.
shit, I
If
will
somebody-
say
if
that
somebody-
every single part of this movie was, one, way better than number one, which was a dog shit movie. But two, was also just like satisfying, like really cool. The visuals there were actually cool visuals this time, and not just like, oh, they're IMAXing me. I thought they were actually cool visuals. I like the worm riding shit was like soy as fuck. I love that. Yeah, his
Unbelievably
speech in front of
cool.
the things when his whole army came in and they fucked up all the dudes and he took his city back. I thought that was fucking cool.
The Fade Ratha, like.
Oh yeah, I thought he
Coliseum
lost in the
scene.
end, and then he fucking stabbed him and blah blah blah. I was like, oh, that was fucking sick, awesome. Yeah, I thought there were a lot of cool moments, but I thought the characters were just so fucking stiff. I was like, Jesus Christ. But
as someone who I've been super interested in politics for a really long time, and I love sci-fi. This movie was just fucking firing on all cylinders. And I feel like if you had maybe a little more familiarity with the fleshed out source material, you would see like how cool this universe is, and like there's so many competing interests and power hierarchies.
Firstly, not really. You're making the politics sound way more complicated than it actually was. Okay, that's not that true.
I'm
Okay.
talking about the source material, and I promise
okay.
you, there's a lot going.
Maybe
on.
in the source
Okay,
material.
I disagree with Hutch here.
Okay.
As a fellow book enjoyer, Dune enjoyer, I feel like the movies leave a lot of the really interesting stuff of Dune just in the background. I don't know. I'm actually kind of with Steve here. I actually am, like, Dune 2 feels worse than Dune 1 for me.
Wow, what the fuck? That's weird.
Are you talking about like the Spacing Guild, or are you talking about like the Mentats? Like, what are you talking about?
So there are a few things. In terms of the Spacing Guild and the Spice, like, that's like kind of cool, but not really what's most relevant. A lot of the interesting stuff of Dune is like the idea essentially that it was so much about like control of the human body, because at the time it was written, a lot of it was related to like the
Trans
first time we
people?
understood,
Oh, sorry, never mind.
actually kind of unironically, but like the first time we started mapping the human genome, we first started making psychoactive medicines, we started curing actual diseases, and it was just in a direction that was so antithetical to most science fiction at the time that I don't know, it feels kind of disappointing. And especially compared to the first movie, it feels like the world shrank a lot. It felt like we were in the same three settings the entire movie.
Do you really feel that way? I feel like in the second movie, I feel like the world felt a little bit bigger to me, or maybe I don't know. I like the world developing more in the second movie than in the first one.
In the first one, a lot is left to be implied and picked up by the viewer. So like as a soy Marvel enjoyer, you probably like just didn't pick up on anything. So yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, it is a really fleshed out world with a lot of really cool power dynamics, and what they do with like the anti-hero arc. I mean, did you pick up that it wasn't like a traditional hero story? Like, did you pick up like it's actually very much not? Like, did that my fiance, for example, she thought Paul was like the good guy.
Sure. I don't. Unfortunately,
kind of
I don't trust any of you guys that say this. I don't think that anti-hero was communicated in the movie, or rather, it has not been. It might be the case, and if you've read the books, maybe he goes on to become some crazy fucking villain. But I mean, he's not technically an anti-hero yet. What?
Hold up.
Yeah.
He knows that by traveling south and taking the water of life, that it's going to kick off a holy war that is going to result in literally 60 billion people dying. And he did it anyways.
So no, we will. Listen. Do you ever watch The Mockingbird to Kill? No, what the fuck are those movies with the girl that they have to kill everybody in a battle royale?
Isn't
Hunger
it just
Games?
Battle Royale?
Hunger Games, yeah. Okay. I don't like it when movies set up potentially interesting dilemmas and then they find plot ways to make it so that dilemma is never addressed. So like at the end of the movie, I was like, oh, is she going to kill the guy that she loves? But then they're like, oh no, like you guys can both survive or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
No. What are you talking about? Chani?
Wait, did you watch the movie?
Chani? You thought Chani was going to kill Paul?
Oh, no. So like in the movie, so you're saying that like, oh, well, he knows that when he looks into the future, that if he follows his path, it's gonna be horrible, blah, blah, blah. But like, didn't he kind of have to? Like, isn't he kind of forced there? Because otherwise because there was a time where he's like, I can't go to the south. I'm gonna sit in the north and fucking die when they come to get me. But if he does that, like people are probably gonna fucking die anyway, right? So he kind of has to. It's not like there was a really interesting dilemma. We had to make one choice or the other. He kind of like has to do it. Otherwise, like shit's fucked regardless, no?
It's true that the lines between good and evil are blurry. It's like
No. Hold on. This isn't good or evil being blurry. This would be like if you set up a dilemma. No, it's not. Because if he stays there and dies, but if he stays there and dies, they're all going to die anyway. It's not like they're.
It's more about cause and effect. So he was like trying to resist this temptation to move south and kick off this holy war because of the abject horror that it would like rot on the entire galaxy. Which was, obviously like a justified thing to think. But then you had these like other forces kind of put, like you're kind of right that the Harkonnen sort of forced his hand a little bit. But in the end, he made this conscious decision to deliberately manipulate the Fremen. All that speech that he gave at the end, he knew it was bullshit. He knew like he was basically using this. One thing that wasn't communicated in the film is that like when he drinks the water of life, it gives him like the power to read people's minds. Like he can do things even Reverend Mothers can't do. And so he uses this ability to read their minds, to sell them a message he knows is going to like galvanize support. So he can basically use the Fremen for his own selfish purposes, both in terms of like usurping the throne and then also exacting revenge on the Harkonnen.
I understand what you're saying, but again, I think you're relying too much on like book knowledge here. I see where the anti-hero thing could be. For instance, that he's like manipulating the Fremen for bad ends and he's going to just use them like Danny uses the Dothraki or some shit. That could be bad. But like there's still also the possibility that he wants to utilize them in a good way because like it's not like he's killing people. You can say that, okay? But hold on. Okay, sorry, hold on. This is where I have to fight against. Okay. No, stop, hold on, because the media literacy is so bad, okay? You don't get to call people. No, stop. Go ahead. This same thing happened with Arya Stark, okay? You don't get to call people anti-heroes when they only kill bad guys. That's so cringe and it's so weak and it's so soy to be like, oh, he's this huge anti-hero. Really? Who is the last guy that he killed? Literally a guy that's described as a psychopath 500 times in the fucking movie. And he even spares the one girl's father at the end. That doesn't seem like a anti-hero, right? That's such a...
Did you miss his premonitions of like?
Yes, I know the premonition 50 million times. Yeah, but who knows if that's going to come true now? He literally says, "I see 5 million."
It's come true. It is going to come true. This is not like ambiguous.
You can say, hold on. You can say
he knows it's going to happen.
That's great that you know that because you read the books. But in the movie, it's communicated that he sees multiple futures and he can pick which one he wants to go down. So to a viewer of just the movies, it doesn't seem like that is a foregone conclusion.
Bro, what do you think he meant when he said, I see many visions of a future, but I see one narrow way through? He's not saying like, oh, I might kick off a holy war that kills 60
hold on! People. The context of you're Norman Finkelstein to me. The context of that line wasn't about like genocide of like billions of people. The context of the line was about his family succeeding. No, it wasn't. The context of the line was in most of the worlds our enemies defeat us, but I see a narrow pathway that we can walk where we win. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a fucking genocide. It just means his family's going to survive.
It does. You may make the point that you didn't pick up on that, and maybe maybe you can criticize Denis Villeneuve from your perspective that it didn't do enough to adequately communicate this to you. But that is what's happening, and Chani is meant to represent the moral center of she's the only one in the film that sees through Jessica's subterfuge, that sees through Paul's selfish motivations for wielding the Fremen like his own personal army. I promise you, that is the whole purpose of her character. Now, if you want to say that Denis, like, he didn't do a good enough job communicating that, fine. I mean, like, reasonable people can disagree. But when Paul goes south, he knows exactly, as soon as he takes the water of life, he can fucking see the future. He knows where the story is headed.
Yeah, but he can also change the future. He doesn't just see the future, he can change the future.
He can change the future insofar as he can choose the path that he walks down. And he chose a path of like mass genocide. Like in the book.
But you're saying that he chose a path that the alternative was he stays in the north, gets killed, and then all those people get genocided anyway. So it doesn't feel like a decision with a lot of gravity.
You're only thinking of things in the context of Arrakis.
Yes, I am.
This turns in the future, it turns into a multi-planetary.
Sure, it might, but I don't know if the full
eclipses Hitler. They even make it a point in the book to directly say like Paul is worse than Hitler.
Sure,
like,
that's fine, but I'm saying that like your choice is something that's horrible and something that's really horrible. If there was a scene where like they had won in Arrakis or some shit, or they were for sure going to secure victory in the north, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go south anyway to get like a galactic victory, then I would feel the weight of that decision more. But it was literally like, okay, well, they can basically genocide everybody on this planet, or I could go south, maybe pick a different future and fight, and we'll at least win here, but other people might die. Like, that's a way more gray decision. It's not an obviously like anti-hero choice.
it doesn't necessarily go into the alternative timelines in terms of like, okay, well, what if he just chose to die in the north? And then like it could possibly be that the Fremen would still be able to like rise up.
Stop.
And,
no, it's not. They literally spend how much dialogue, how much exposition showing you how big, bad, and evil the new brother that came was. Why would we ever assume that people in the South could survive that guy?
Did you miss the part where Gurney says you were able to do all this with just 200 men? Think of what you can do with millions of Fremen that are hiding in the South. It is not at all communicated that like the Fremen would be completely lost in a military.
Oh my God, you're so wrong. Stop. That's what Paul could do with 200 men because Paul was like a godlike messianic leader to these people. It wasn't that the Fremen naturally had the gifts to be this talented at warfare. It was because Paul was leading them and inspiring them. So if Paul was gone, the idea that
wrong.
Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God.
The Fremen had been proving their mettle against the Harkonnen in their like spice production for fucking decades. They had been engaged in guerrilla warfare against the Harkonnen for decades.
You're literally wrong. Paul literally says, you've been fighting these people for decades. My family's been fighting them for centuries. He literally tells these people that they're not going to be ready to deal with this warfare. And when the Gurney guy comes, he says, listen, you might have the people, but we've got the firepower. We've got the I think it was the firepower to actually win.
The nukes.
No. What we have is that Paul was talking about how he is loyal to their cause because their causes align in a way. That's how I interpreted that scene where he said, I've been fighting them for centuries to basically earn their trust. But in terms of Fremen as fighters, they're uniquely remarkable in the mind of, at least in the fiction. I don't know how well that's communicated in the book. In the movie. Personally, I didn't really like a lot of the action in the movie.
Paul he's still kind of naive. Like he was in survival mode at the end of Dune 1 and the beginning of Dune 2. Him and Jessica are just like, fuck, we need to figure out a way to survive. The only way we can do that is by aligning ourselves with the Fremen. And so in the beginning of the film, Paul has these naive notions that he can like help them in their struggle against the Harkonnens. And like maybe he can like do some revenge stuff. But then he has these premonitions of like, holy fuck, if I go south and take the water of life, this is going to result in death and destruction that the galaxy has literally never before seen. And so he's so resistant to do that. And so he's telling Jessica at a certain point, like, I think I can make a difference.
Well, so hold on, be careful. He got these premonitions before drinking the water, didn't he?
That's because of the spice. The water of life is basically like a highly concentrated spice.
Version of that, yeah.
That's what it is. The spice comes from the worms on Arrakis.
Sure.
So when they kill the little baby worm, and then it's like dabbing when you're fucking smoking weed or whatever.
Sure. But didn't his mom also say that if you drink the water, like the vision will become clearer? That like you might see a better path forward? But not necessarily that like the mass genocide and destruction is going to happen.
No, but once he drinks that water, it changes him. The whole point is that power corrupts him. He becomes like fully committed to this path of death, destruction, revenge, and conquest. Because he changes fundamentally. He becomes the Kwisatz Haderach, which was like this, what are they called? The Bene Gesserit. This was like their prophesized male kind of reverend mother that was able to like see all the memories of every reverend mother that ever lived before him, but he could also see into the future, and he can also read people's minds. Like the whole point was like the Bene Gesserit were doing this breeding like eugenics program over the course of like 1,000 years, working up to finally get a male Bene Gesserit who could like basically become like space Superman without the fucking flying and lasers. Like he became.
I don't know.
Like this.
Well, sure, I don't disagree that all of it's happening. The only 2 points I disagree on, I guess, are that one, I don't think it's been communicated to the audience that genocide is the only path forward. Do we agree or disagree on that? Because if so, I don't know how to reconcile that with.
Disagree.
Okay.
I mean, forethought.
I don't know how to reconcile that with the fact that he said I can see multiple paths and choose between them. But sorry, go ahead.
I think you are respectfully. I think you are missing the fact that he deliberately chose a path of 60 billion people dying. He can see that future. I know what I'm doing. I'm just fuck it, full send. Let's go. That's what he's doing at the end of the film.
Okay. In terms of how I interpreted him choosing his path, it was not that like he made a decision. It's just that in order for him to achieve victory over the Harkonnens and avenge his father, it resulted in gaining a Fremen that were capable of going and doing jihad, whether or not he was a party to it or not. Once the Fremen were free and had the ability to take spaceships, just because of the nature of the way combat works in the Dune universe. Being an individual fighter is incredibly powerful in that setting. So basically, they are unstoppable throughout the entire galaxy in that universe. I don't know how well that's communicated to the movie audience, and I don't think they understood that Paul is instrumental, but he's not all there is to what the Fremen do. Yeah, I don't know.
They were almost ready to kill him, like right before he started. Like he was a really important figure to them.
Wait, they were almost ready to kill who?
They were almost ready to kill Paul for speaking out of turn at the council meeting. Like they started pulling out their fucking Chris knives, and they were ready to like literally like kill the fucking guy.
Sure, but that's also because he was like disrespecting like one of their most important traditions too, right?
Exactly. So even though he was contributing in the war effort, it wasn't like they would have like regarded him at that point as like essential to their war effort. They were ready to fucking kill him.
Yeah, maybe. But also keep in mind, they were also in the South where those people were weird too. I don't even know how important those people were to the war effort. I'm not sure.
That's something he changed from the books.
Because they make it sound like I can't tell. I don't know if they explain this in movie. It doesn't seem like it, but it sounds like in the movie, the people in the North, those are like your Fremen fighters and warriors that are part of like the struggle and all that shit. But the people in the South are just like a bunch of like funny, like weird like religious people fanatics. That are but they're not like combat effective, ready to go and fuck everything up. So.
But they're still hardened by their life in the Arrakis desert, and they're still like very much a resilient population. There's probably like like they had combat experience. It wasn't like they were just these sort of like priest-like characters.
Oh, maybe I don't know. I didn't get that. I had no reference to think that they were affected by combat or anything in the South. They just sound like they can live in the desert.
Well, Stilgar was from the South. They say that, and he was like, regarded as like this highly respected,
yeah, but he might be like a different type of person. Like Stilgar reminds me, honest to God, of I don't know if it's intentional or not. He reminds me of Morpheus. Right, where like Morpheus is part of like the elders of Zion. There are people that some people believe that like Neo the One would show up and blah blah. And Morpheus came from those people, but he was also like in the Matrix and like combat and fighting. He could do all that shit in the Matrix, but he also had like that religious fundamentalist side. Stilgar feels like a Morpheus to me. And he's literally trying to find the one, right? Yeah.
I never even thought of that, but that's a really good comparison. Yeah, I agree with that. The thing that changed everything was like Paul. The moment that he decided to go to the South was because he saw this alternative timeline in where the guy Jameis that he killed at the end of Dune 1, in an alternative timeline, he and I don't know how well the movie communicated this, but in an alternative timeline, he can see a universe where him and Jameis were friends, and Jameis was the one that was like training him in the ways of the Fremen. And in this alternative universe, Jameis says, sometimes in order to defeat an enemy, you have to take a really high ground. So get to the top of like the highest dune so you can see everything. And that was meant to represent him drinking the water of life, so he can better understand like his enemies.
Sure.
So he reluctantly agrees to go south. It's like, okay, fine, I have revenge in mind, but I still care about the Fremen. It's once he drinks the water, that's when everything changes. It just fundamentally changes him as a human being. Imagine like you now, and imagine if you could fucking literally download all the knowledge of the universe.
Yeah, it's like when Bran becomes like the fucking crow guy or whatever in Game of Thrones, right? He becomes
like an evil crow guy.
Sure, yeah,
like a bad one.
Although I feel like it's kind of hard. Why does he still tell Zendaya's character like, "I will always love you" and shit like that?
Because he does.
I don't even interpret him as like evil. That's just once he takes the water of life, he sees the momentum of his actions before him and what's pulling him forward. I don't even interpret Paul as like being an independent agent. He just knows what's happening now.
What, like Eren Yeager?
Maybe good evil is a bit reductive. So, but yeah, I think that's generally correct. Like it's just he's just fundamentally altered at that point. And it's just, maybe his morality certainly changes. It's like, maybe before he can see all the fucking secrets of the universe, the thought of a jihad or whatever is like, unbearable to him. But then once you have all this knowledge, it's like maybe now you're looking at a fucking top down 30,000 feet above view of everything. And it's like, well, okay, maybe 60 billion isn't that bad if I'm, on the pursuit of this thing. And it goes further into that. There's this thing called the Golden Path that like, it's like a new thing, like a new kind of like set in stone future that's fleshed out in Dune Messiah and then Children of Dune. But yeah, it's definitely. I read up until God Emperor. I didn't read Chapter House or Heretics.
You didn't even read Chapter House? You're trying to talk about what's going to happen in Dune?
Fuck you.
Cringe.
Dude, the books fall off so hard. I'm not going to lie.
God Emperor up to the fourth book is great, I think. But
I don't know. Like after Messiah, I kind of just dropped off. It got. I consulted some redditors, and they said it got very goofy, so I just dropped it. I'm very
Well,
much.
anyways,
a horror
I
sci-fi
don't
fan.
want to take up too much.
Oh,
of
okay.
your
Hold on.
time.
I'll
I just-
reveal that I didn't pay attention to the movies because apparently I missed this. When the one creepy dude, Fade, when he kills the 3 people from the Trace house, were these just like random side characters from the first movie, or were these people important or what?
No, they
No.
were not important.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't know if they were supposed, like the Asian guy especially seemed like a big duder, but then I don't know if I was supposed to know. Okay. All
Oh,
right.
dude, I felt the PG-13 rating so much in this second movie. Oh my god,
Because there was no blood in the entire movie, basically.
dude.
There was blood, but it was black.
in the
black
books,
blood.
Baron Harkonnen, he's fucked up. All right.
Yeah, he has like little boy sex slaves and he's
Jesus
just, like,
Christ.
comically evil in the books, and they kind of touch on it in the films, but
I feel like they don't touch it at all. It feels like the most PG-13 movie in a while.
well, they touched on it a little bit in the second film when the beast Raban is outside the room and you can hear like a horrible woman screaming like she's in agony, and then you hear the slam, so it implies that
Yeah, and then when they go into the room, I think you see 2 dead women in the
Yeah,
corner.
you're just
Yeah,
clumped
yeah.
in a corner.
and then Fade Roth is like his little like harem, they're like fucking cannibals,
Oh, that
it
was-
implies that they're so like, yeah, they tried to convey like how
Okay.
evil the Harkonnens were, but they were obviously limited by PG-13. But yeah, it's way more fucked up in the books. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to give my 2 cents and
Okay.
perhaps change your mind, but I doubt it.
I
But
love
anyways,
you, buddy.
yeah.
One day we're going to watch
Alright.
these movies together online. We're going to figure out how to do this, okay?
All right, take it easy.
Okay. Love you, bye.
Nice to meet you, Fourth Up.
Nice meeting you, Hutch. I can't believe I fucking agreed with you about Dune. Holy fuck.
Well, just no characters. But at least I preface this by asking Hutch if he likes Skyrim, and Hutch loved Skyrim, so it makes sense.
Does that make sense? What's the Skyrim theory? I'm not sure I follow.
It's just like a preference for story and lore, or lore-driven stories versus like character-driven stories. I think some people really like lore and world building and all of that over like necessarily like individual characters. I don't think one is right or wrong or better or worse, but I think that some people have preference to that. Like it's very hard I can't get into any open world games except for The Witcher 3, but The Witcher 3 had like really strong characters. But I think that's relatively rare in open world games. Open world games tend to have very like lore and world building heavy elements and not as much character.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of a story that's carried by its world building exclusively. Like maybe Frostpunk is.
Well,
carried
Frostpunk
by
is
world-
barely, that's just like a strategy tactical.
Yeah, but that setting is like really nice. It's really immersive, and the storytelling in there is kind of nice. I don't know. I can't think of a good example, but I don't know. All right.
I feel like the best of both worlds tends to be, it feels like it comes from cast of character things. Like I think, like I said, Game of Thrones will probably always be my number 1 here. I think that StarCraft and StarCraft Brood War did really good at both world building and having characters. Those 2 games were awesome for that. The StarCraft 2 and the 3 sets of that, I think, were significantly worse, but
Have you ever tried just going straight into now that you're on Vyvanse, you should actually try like doing any sort of literature at all at some point.
Why am I? It's called nonfiction or historical nonfiction. You mean reading fictional books?
Yeah, I don't know. In terms of character, I love East of Eden. That's probably one of my favorite books ever, and it's just a sort of a modern epic based in some part of California, and it's just following the storyline of this family. It's all character driven, all dialogue, and it's just fantastic. I don't know. You might like it.
Okay, I'll think about it.
All right, peace out.
Love you. Be careful. Let me use the restroom quick. Hold on one sec.